Wait. Don't scroll. No, seriously, this is not random. You were about to leave, just like the other times. But something stopped you. Something made you hesitate for a split second longer than usual. And that hesitation? It matters more than you think. This isn't your first time seeing a message like this. Think about it. How many times have you come across something that felt different? Something that made your chest tighten just a little, your thoughts slow down, your thumb pause mid-scroll. You felt it, but you ignored it. You told yourself it was just another video, just another coincidence. But what if it wasn't? What if those moments were not accidents, but attempts? Because the truth is, this isn't the first time God has tried to reach you. Not the second, not even the third. This is the fourth time. And every single time before this, you almost clicked away. Maybe you got distracted. Maybe you felt uncomfortable. Maybe something inside you whispered, "This is too deep. Keep scrolling." But somehow, you're still here, right now, reading this. And that changes everything. Because this time, something is different. This time, you didn't leave. This time, the message caught you before you could escape it. And you need to understand this clearly. When something keeps finding you over and over again, despite your attempts to ignore it, it's not chasing you by accident. It's calling you on purpose. There is a reason this keeps showing up in your life. A reason you can't fully explain. A reason you've been trying to avoid. But not this time. This time you're going to hear it. This time, you were meant to stay. 1. The pattern. You didn't notice. You thought it was random. That's what you told yourself every time it happened. But deep down, you knew something felt off. Not wrong, just too precise to be coincidence. Because it didn't happen once. It happened again, and again, and again. You'd be going about your day, distracted, busy, not really thinking about anything deep. And then suddenly, something would appear. A message, a video, a sentence, a feeling. Always at the exact moment you needed it, or the exact moment you were trying not to feel anything at all. And each time, it hit you the same way. That brief pause, that strange silence in your mind, that quiet voice whispering, "Pay attention." But you didn't. You brushed it off. You said, "It's just my imagination." You said, "It's just the algorithm." You said, "It's not that serious." And yet, it kept happening. Late at night, when everything was quiet and your thoughts got louder, you felt it again. That pull, that awareness that something in your life wasn't aligned, that you were meant for something more, but you couldn't quite grasp what it was. So you distracted yourself. You scrolled. You switched videos. You avoided the feeling. But the pattern didn't stop, because patterns don't repeat without purpose. Every time you ignored it, it came back stronger, more direct, more impossible to overlook, until now. Because this moment right here feels different, doesn't it? It's not just another passing thought. It's not just another random message. It's the accumulation of every sign you've been given, all leading to this exact point in time. And the reason it feels so intense right now is because somewhere inside you, you're starting to recognize it. This isn't new. This has been happening for a long time. You just didn't want to see it. But now you can't unsee it. Now the pattern is clear. And once you see the pattern, you can't go back to pretending it was all just coincidence. 2. The 4 times God reached you. This didn't begin today. What you're experiencing right now is the result of a pattern that has been unfolding for a long time. 4 moments, 4 attempts, 4 times something reached for you, and each time you almost let it slip away. The first time, it was subtle, so subtle you barely noticed it. It came as a thought you couldn't explain, a feeling that something in your life needed to change. Maybe it happened during a quiet moment when everything slowed down just enough for you to hear that inner voice. It didn't shout, it didn't force you, it simply whispered, "Pay attention." But you were busy. Life was moving fast. You had responsibilities, distractions, noise all around you. So you dismissed it. You told yourself it wasn't important. And just like that, the moment passed. The second time, it was louder. Not in sound, but in feeling. Something shifted inside you. You felt uncomfortable, restless. Situations in your life started to feel off. Things that once felt normal began to feel heavy. You couldn't fully explain it, but you knew something wasn't right. It was no longer just a whisper. It was a nudge. But discomfort is easy to escape, isn't it? So you distracted yourself. You filled your time. You avoided sitting alone with your thoughts because deep down you knew if you stopped and listened, you might have to change something. So again, you almost walked away. The third time, it was undeniable. This time, it hit you emotionally. Something happened. Maybe a moment of clarity, maybe a situation that shook you, maybe a realization that came out of nowhere. But it stopped you in your tracks. You felt it deeply, not just in your mind, but in your chest, in your spirit. You started asking questions. Why do I feel like this? Why does this keep happening to me? Is there something I'm missing? For a moment, you were awake. For a moment, you saw things differently. But then fear crept in. Because awakening comes with responsibility. It means you can't go back to who you were before. And that scared you. So slowly, carefully, you started to drift back into your pravitchki, your routines, your distractions. And once again, you almost let it go. But now, this is the fourth time, and this time, it's different. Because you didn't just feel it. You stayed. You didn't scroll away immediately. You didn't silence the thought. You didn't run from the discomfort. You're still here, reading this. And that matters more than you realize. Because when something reaches you once, it's a moment. Twice, it's a coincidence. 3 times, it's a pattern. But 4 times? That's intention. That's persistence. That's something refusing to let you go. This isn't just another message passing through your life. This is the moment everything converges. Every ignored feeling, every avoided thought, every sign you tried to explain away. All of it has led you here. Right now. And the reason it feels stronger this time is because it is. This isn't subtle anymore. This isn't just a nudge. This is the point where you stop almost leaving and start understanding why you were being called in the first place. Because this time, you weren't meant to miss it. 3. Why you almost clicked away. Be honest with yourself. It wasn't random that you almost left. It wasn't just habit. It was resistance. Because something inside you recognized this moment before your mind could explain it. And instead of leaning in, your first instinct was to pull away. Why? Because truth can be uncomfortable. And deep down, you felt it. That quiet pressure in your chest. That strange awareness that this message was getting a little too close, saying things you weren't ready to fully face. So, your reaction was automatic. Scroll. Skip. Ignore. Not because you didn't care, but because you did. More than you wanted to admit. Fear was part of it. Not fear of the message itself, but fear of what it might mean. Because if this is real, if this isn't just another sleuthy message, then something in your life has to change. And change, even when it's necessary, is uncomfortable. Then there's doubt. That voice in your head that whispers, "This isn't for you. You're overthinking. You're not that important." Doubt tries to make you feel small, so you don't step into something bigger. And distraction, that's been your easiest escape. Endless scrolling, noise, constant movement. Anything to avoid sitting still long enough to actually feel what's going on inside you, because the moment you slow down, the truth starts to surface. And then there's something even deeper. Unworthiness, a part of you that quietly believes, why me? Why would something like this be meant for me? I'm not ready. I'm not good enough. I've made too many mistakes. So instead of receiving the message, you almost rejected it. Not because it wasn't meant for you, but because you weren't sure you deserved it. And that's the real reason you almost clicked away. It wasn't just distraction. It was everything inside you trying to stay the same. Because staying the same feels safe. But here's what you need to understand. You weren't avoiding this message. You were avoiding the version of yourself that comes after you accept it. The version of you that grows, that changes, that steps into something unknown, but necessary. And that version? It's closer than you think. Because despite the fear, despite the doubt, despite every reason to leave, you didn't. You're still here, which means something inside you is stronger than all of it. And maybe, just maybe, that's the part of you that was meant to hear this all along. 4. The spiritual battle around you. What you're feeling right now is not just emotion, it's resistance. Because the moment you started paying attention, something shifted around you. Not physically, but internally. Like there's a pressure you can't fully explain, a tension between wanting to stay and wanting to escape. And that pull isn't random. It happens every time you get close to something important. You start questioning your thoughts more deeply. You feel a strange mix of clarity and confusion at the same time. One part of you wants to keep listening, while another part suddenly screams, "Stop, this is too much, just leave." That conflict, that's not just your mind playing tricks. That's a battle for your focus, because everything meaningful in your life will always come with resistance. The closer you get to truth, awareness, and purpose, the more distractions seem to appear, the more doubts multiply, the more your attention gets pulled in different directions. Have you noticed that? How, when you're about to understand something important, suddenly you feel tired, or when you're about to reflect deeply, something pulls you away, or when a message truly resonates, your first instinct is to close it. That's not an accident. That's interruption, because clarity is dangerous to confusion, awareness is dangerous to distraction, and growth is dangerous to stagnation. So the resistance rises, not to destroy you, but to derail you. It doesn't always look dramatic. It's not always loud. Sometimes it's just a thought, "This is pointless." Sometimes it's a feeling, "You should do something else." Sometimes it's a sudden urge to leave, scroll, switch, escape. But if you look closely, it always appears at the same moment, right when something inside you starts to wake up. And that's why this feels intense. Because you are not just watching a message. You are standing in the middle of an inner shift, a place where old patterns fight to stay alive, and something new tries to emerge. That tension you feel, that pull in two directions, that hesitation before you leave, that's the battlefield, not outside of you, inside of you. And the most important part is this. The resistance only shows up where something valuable exists. No resistance means no significance, but strong resistance. That usually means you're closer than ever to something you were meant to see. So if part of you is uncomfortable right now, don't immediately run from it. Because sometimes discomfort isn't a warning to stop. Sometimes it's a sign that you're finally getting close to the truth you've been avoiding. 5. The moment. Everything changes. But something is different now. You can feel it. It's subtle, but undeniable. Because for the first time, you didn't immediately run. You didn't fully escape. You didn't let fear make the decision for you. You stayed. And that changes everything. Because this is the exact point where most people turn away. Where doubt gets louder, where distraction wins, where the mind says, "Enough, this is not for you." And the person obeys without question. But not you. Not this time. This time, something inside you paused long enough to notice the pattern, to feel the weight of what's been building, to recognize that maybe, just maybe, there's a reason you keep ending up here. And in that pause, something shifts. It's not dramatic. It doesn't feel like lightning or noise or sudden revelation. It feels like stillness. Like your thoughts are no longer pulling you in 10 directions at once. Like for a brief moment, you can actually hear yourself. And in that stillness, fear starts to lose its control. Because fear survives on speed, on distraction, on automatic reactions. But when you slow down, even just for a moment, it begins to weaken. And that's what's happening now. You're not rejecting everything you felt before, but you're also not running from it anymore. You're observing it. And that small shift, from reacting to observing, is where everything begins to change. Because now you're no longer just a person scrolling through messages. You're someone who is aware of the process happening inside you. And awareness is the beginning of transformation. You might still feel uncertainty. You might still have questions. That's normal. That's part of the shift. Because stepping into something new always feels unfamiliar at first. But underneath all of that, there's a quiet sense that something is aligning. Not outside of you, inside of you. Like pieces you didn't even realize were scattered are slowly starting to come together. And for the first time, you're not resisting it as strongly. You're not pushing it away with the same force. You're allowing it to exist. And that allowance is powerful, because this is the moment where fear begins to lose its authority over you. Not because it disappears, but because you stop letting it decide everything. And in that space, something else starts to emerge. Clarity, presence, a deeper awareness that you are not just watching a message unfold. You are experiencing a shift in real time. And whether you fully understand it yet or not, this is the moment everything starts to change. 6. Your identity as the chosen one. Now listen carefully, because what you're stepping into next is not just understanding a message, it's understanding yourself. Not the version of you shaped by doubt, not the version limited by fear, not the version that only sees your past mistakes, but something deeper, something that has always been there, even when you ignored it. There's a reason certain things have happened in your life that didn't make sense at the time. Delays, pressure, moments where you felt alone even when people were around you, times when you asked, "Why is this happening to me?" And you never got a clear answer. But what if those moments were not punishment? What if they were preparation? Because nothing truly meaningful in your life has been random. The struggles that shaped you, the silence that tested you, the moments you thought you were forgotten, none of it was wasted. It was forming something inside you. Strength, awareness, resilience. The kind that doesn't come from comfort, but from being shaped in silence. And this is where your identity begins to shift, because you are not just someone passing through life without direction. You are someone who has been pushed into awareness repeatedly, even when you resisted it. That's not coincidence. That's pressure toward awakening. And deep down, you've always known you were different, not better than others, not above anyone, but carrying something internally that doesn't let you stay asleep for too long. Even when you tried to ignore it, even when you tried to distract yourself, even when you tried to convince yourself that nothing deeper was happening, it kept returning. That inner pull, that feeling that there is something more for you than repetition, distraction, and survival. And now, in this moment, you are being asked to recognize it. Not as ego, not as fantasy, but as responsibility. Because the chosen one is not about superiority. It is about awareness. It is about being unable to fully ignore what you know deep inside. It is about being shaped differently through experience so you can eventually see what others overlook. And yes, it can feel heavy, because awareness always comes with weight, but it also comes with clarity, and clarity changes everything. You are starting to see that your past was not random, that your struggles were not meaningless, that your persistence, even when you felt lost, was not an accident. It was all building toward this exact moment of recognition. And now the question is no longer, why is this happening to me? The question becomes, what am I going to do with what I now see? Because once you recognize your own pattern, you can never truly return to ignorance. And something inside you already knows that. 7. What God is asking you to do now. Now don't rush past this moment. Because after everything you've felt, everything you've questioned, and everything you've almost ignored, there comes a point where the message is no longer just about understanding. It becomes about response, not reaction, response. And right now, what you're feeling inside isn't confusion anymore the same way it was before. It's something quieter, more serious, like a pause in your thoughts that is asking you to slow down and actually listen, not to the noise around you, but to what's happening within you. Because this is what changes everything. The message was never only meant to be heard, it was meant to be acted on. And what is being asked of you now is not complicated, it is simple. But simplicity is often what we resist the most. You are being asked to become aware again, to stop moving on autopilot, to stop dismissing what you feel just because it doesn't fit your usual patterns, to take a moment right now in your life, to be honest with yourself about what you've been ignoring, that inner voice you keep pushing aside, that thought you keep delaying, that direction you keep postponing because it feels uncertain or uncomfortable. You are being asked to stop running from it, not in fear, but in honesty. Because every time you silence that inner awareness, you create more distance between who you are and who you know you could become. And that distance is what has been weighing on you. So what is the action? It starts small, not dramatic, not complicated, but intentional. Pause more often. Notice your thoughts instead of escaping them. When something feels meaningful inside you, don't immediately dismiss it. Sit with it. Let it speak before you decide it's nothing. And most importantly, stop treating every inner pull as an inconvenience, because some of them are direction, not distraction. You are also being asked to take responsibility for what you already know, not what you wish you knew, not what feels easy to accept, but what has already been revealed to you through experience, through reflection, through repeated inner signals you've been feeling for a long time. And that responsibility doesn't mean pressure. It means alignment. Choosing not to ignore yourself anymore, even if it feels unfamiliar at first, even if it challenges your habits, even if it requires you to slow down in a world that pushes you to rush. Because sometimes the most powerful step you can take is not moving faster. It is becoming present enough to finally hear what has been speaking to you all along. And right now, that is what is being asked of you. 8. Prophetic vision of your future. Now close your eyes for a moment, not physically, but inwardly, because what you're about to see is not just imagination. It's a glimpse of what happens when you stop resisting what has been calling you. In this vision, your life doesn't look like chaos anymore. It feels different, lighter, clearer, like something heavy has slowly been lifted off your mind, even though you can't fully explain when it happened. You wake up one day and notice it. There's no more constant inner noise pulling you in every direction. The same thoughts that once overwhelmed you now feel quieter, more organized, more peaceful. And for the first time in a long time, you breathe without tension. Your decisions become simpler, not because life is easier, but because you are no longer fighting yourself. You start noticing opportunities that were always there, but you were too distracted or uncertain to act on. Now you see them clearly. And more importantly, you trust yourself enough to respond. There is a stability growing inside you, a sense of direction that doesn't depend on confusion or fear anymore. You begin to move differently, speak differently, think differently, not because you became someone else, but because you finally stopped ignoring who you were becoming. And slowly, your life starts reflecting that shift. Relationships become healthier, not perfect, but real. You stop forcing connections that drain you. You stop ignoring your boundaries. You stop shrinking yourself just to fit into spaces that were never meant for you. Peace begins to replace pressure, clarity begins to replace doubt, and purpose begins to replace emptiness. You start to feel like your life actually has direction again, even if you can't explain every step yet. And here's what's most powerful. You stop feeling lost inside your own mind. Instead of constantly questioning your worth, you start recognizing your growth. Instead of asking, "Why is this happening to me?" you begin to understand, "This is shaping me." There is a quiet confidence that begins to build inside you, not loud, not arrogant, but steady. The kind that doesn't need validation to exist. And even your past starts to make sense in a new way, not as pain you wish you could erase, but as preparation that made you strong enough to stand here now. In this vision, you are not rushing, you are not chasing, you are aligned. And that alignment changes everything. Because when you stop fighting yourself, life stops feeling like a struggle against the world and starts becoming a path you can actually walk with awareness. And deep down, you realize something very simple but powerful. You were never lost. You were becoming ready. 9. Final blessing and call to action. And now, You've reached the end of this message. But in reality, this is not an ending. It's a moment of decision. Because what you felt here was never meant to stay as just emotion. It was meant to become awareness in your daily life, in your thoughts, in the way you begin to see things from now on. You don't need to force anything. You don't need to rush into understanding everything at once. Just carry this with you, that your life has meaning even in the moments you doubted it, that your path is still unfolding even when it feels unclear, and that what you almost ignored may have been guiding you more than you realized. If this message resonated with you, take it as a sign that you are not as lost as you sometimes feel. You are simply becoming more aware, and awareness is the beginning of transformation. So before you leave, pause for a second, acknowledge this moment, and if you feel guided to do so, leave a comment with one word that reflects what you feel right now. It could be ready, it could be awake, or it could simply be here. And if this message reached you deeply, consider subscribing, because this is not the last time you will be reminded of what you are becoming. You are not forgotten. You are not sluchai. You are in process, and this is only the beginning. There comes a point where you stop questioning everything, not because all your doubts suddenly disappear, but because something inside you becomes stronger than the doubt itself. And maybe that is what is happening to you right now. You've listened, you've felt, you've resisted, and you've stayed longer than you usually would. That already means something is shifting. Because most people don't even get to this point. Most people scroll away before they ever reach the moment where they start reflecting instead of reacting. But you didn't. You stayed. And now the message is no longer just outside of you. It is inside your awareness. This is the moment where acceptance begins. Not forced belief, not blind emotion, but quiet recognition. The kind that says, maybe I don't fully understand this, but I can feel that it matters. And that feeling is powerful, because acceptance is not about having all the answers. It is about stopping the constant resistance to what you already sense is true. For a long time, you may have been living in a cycle of hesitation, overthinking, doubting your own inner voice, trying to rationalize every feeling until it loses its meaning. But right now, something is different. You are not as quick to reject what you feel. You are not as fast to escape what resonates. And that space, that pause between reaction and escape, is where transformation begins. Because in that space, you start to hear yourself again. Not the noise, not the fear, not the doubt, but you. The part of you that has been quietly observing everything your entire life. And that part of you has never been confused. It has always been clear. It has always known when something mattered. It has always known when something felt aligned. You just didn't always listen. But now you are starting to, and that is why this moment feels heavier and calmer at the same time. Heavier because you are becoming aware of things you used to avoid. Calmer because you are no longer running from them as quickly. This is the beginning of acceptance, not of a message, but of your own awareness. And once you accept that you are capable of sensing deeper meaning in your life, you can never fully return to ignoring it the same way again. Something changes, quietly, permanently. And it starts right here, in this exact moment where you finally stop fighting what you already feel inside.